except where them hands, where them holes, where them throws, you know what I'm saying? Cecil.
If you've been on YouTube and you watch some of the stuff that I guess I apparently do, you've heard of Army Sniper Nick Irving. The algorithm kept feeding me his stuff, so I started watching some of his stuff, some of his shorts, and I haven't watched the full interview yet. So when you hear this rant slash opinion slash reaction, keep in mind, I am not a trained psychiatrist or psychologist. My training is just in martial arts. I'm not a sociologist. So if you want to take this opinion with a grain of salt, you ought to. You ought to take it with a whole container of salt, because I just might not know what I'm talking about. So let's get that out the way. But the reason why it resonates with me is not just because Algo said so. It's because one of my mentors, especially when I was young, I'd say had a similar job when he was in the military to what Nicholas Irving does. So actually, two of my mentors, let me take that back, because one was a sniper and the other one did something else. Special forces type thing. I'm not quite sure, but that wasn't his specialty. His specialty wasn't the gun. It was something else that had to do with war. So like I said, I've been mentored by two people like this. So maybe I have a bias and I can't give you a medical opinion. But in one of his shorts, Nicholas Irving was saying that people have compared him to psychopaths and compared him and called him a murderer. And he understands why they would say that. And first of all, I want to say kudos to him for not wanting to get mad and have a knee-jerk reaction and trying to understand other people's point of view. But while I can't vouch for the psychopath part, I can definitely give my amateur layperson's opinion on why I don't think you could really call this guy a quote-unquote murderer. The reason why is, in my opinion, his stuff was done in a line of duty. His stuff was done in a war zone. It was done for warfare against people who were in combat. He wasn't doing it. My idea of a murderer is someone who is killing out of emotion or even out of pleasure. So he said people have compared him to a serial killer too. So I don't even think that fits, because he's not killing out of pleasure. He's not killing out of, some kind of anger, like someone angered him or to try to take vengeance. So I really don't think that fits. He did what he did because he had a duty and a calling, and he was doing this to protect others, or at least protect the interests of his country. So let me see here right now what I'm doing. I'm going to Google the term here. See here, with the results I'm getting here is, it's just saying they're just going by lives taken, not the context. And I think context is important. And why is a martial artist talking about this, and not just because some of his mentors when he was coming up as a child, is because of this. There are people who are going to have a problem with any type of violence at all. They can't understand that sometimes you might want to do this. You might have to hurt someone because that's the only way to stop them from hurting other people. These are the type of people that feel like you should never, ever fight ever. Period. These are the type of people who feel like any type of violence at all is absolutely wrong, and that you can talk your way out of anything, everything, all of the time. And that is just not true in reality. These are the type of people who will try to shame you for studying martial arts, in my opinion. These are the type of people, again, in my opinion, who will say that you must want to study a martial art just because you are violent. Now, are there violent people who want to study a martial art to have an avenue to vent their violence? Yes. But there are also people I've seen play other sports who are violent and just want an excuse to hurt people, in my opinion, from the way that they act. They are sadistic. So they don't even need to make it all the way over to martial arts, in my opinion, to hurt somebody. They can do any contact sport to do that. So this whole thing where violence automatically bad, I don't think you should do that. You've got to learn context. You've got to learn how to take things in context and in their proper perspective. Now, I also want to belabor this point to say this too. So if you're learning from me, I am not training you to go off to war. I'm training you to deal with regular idiot, stupid people, someone lost their temper, violence, up to someone's out of their mind, and you still have to use violence to stop this person. You might have to hurt them. I hope that you don't, but you don't want to have them hurt you. Okay? We want to try to get out of this whole violence exchange with the least amount of damage done to anybody. I don't want anything happen to you. And if possible, I hope you don't have to do anything to them. But I don't want you going in there with the same sort of mindset that you would use for a war zone, because you're not in a war zone. You're not going to war. You're a civilian. I don't feel comfortable trying to do what I think you should do in a war zone because I've never been in a war zone. And even though I was in the military, I was in the reserves, I never went to war. But what I have dealt with firsthand is regular schmegular people trying to do stuff to hurt you. I've dealt with plenty of that. And yes, I believe you when you say, I was just minding my own business and this person came after me for no reason. Because I've had that happen to me. Or this person is trying to hurt me knowing that I can't, if I do anything back to hurt that person, then I'm going to look like the bad guy. But if I just stand here and try to do something, that person could really hurt me because I'm not a Kryptonian. I'm not invulnerable, but I've got to do something. I can help you with that. And, oh my goodness, we were all just sitting here and then this person, that person lost their mind. And if I don't do something, that person is going to hurt someone else. I can help you deal with that. And they may not have an arm, but they may not have an arm. They may not be armed, but that person can hurt somebody. And if we're not careful, that person may hurt all of us. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Everybody else is scared. The police aren't here. Where's security? I can help you with that. Those are the type of things that you're probably more likely to deal with than you having to go and use some type of killer one-stop hit, booyah, bam technique that's going to take somebody out of here permanently. Now, do I know some of those things? Of course. But you don't need to do all that. And in my opinion, the best way to train is not just with my style. It's with classical martial arts, and you dip your toe into some sports stuff so you can get used to doing some of the moves under pressure. But with a classical type of approach where you learn a lot of structure. So if you learn a punch kick, you learn all the forms and everything, and you do the forms and you make it look pretty and fancy, and then you practice some sparring, and then you practice some one-steps. And if your classical basis is from grappling, you actually learn all of the proper names and the proper ways for doing the grappling techniques. You try to make it look pretty, how your instructor tells you to put your hand here, put your arm there, wrap your leg here, use this type of positioning. This is for when you're on top. This is for when you're on bottom. Press the sides of the neck, not the trachea. Go for the carotid, that type of thing. And my backgrounds are primarily in Taekwondo, Tang Soo Do, that type of background, but mostly Taekwondo. A little bit karate, and my grappling background is judo based with some aikido exposure, and of course some jiu-jitsu exposure, because it's kind of hard to operate with people that know how to grapple and they've never done any jiu-jitsu, and you're just not going to flat out see it, and hapkido. So that's where I'm coming from. So trying to call this guy Nick a bunch of names and trying to say he bad because he killed. No, not necessarily. You got to put it in context. In my opinion, you've got to put it in context. And even he does. And like I said, I like the fact that he's willing to understand why other people will feel that way. He's not on the, well, my way is completely right all the time. So basically what I want to say is it's all about context. It's all about why. It's not just the action. It's why you're doing it. And like I said, my opinion in terms of martial arts is if you're Joe Schmo, regular schmegular civilian, classical martial arts, traditional martial arts, whatever you want to call them, that along with some things you may consider modern or doing some of the stuff in a sporting context here or there, that should be more than enough as long as you keep a level head and keep your morals about you to help you learn how to fight if you need to, but more importantly, diffuse violence and try to make it so that there's as little damage done as possible. Is that always possible? No. But I think we should try. Can you always resolve something all the time, 100% of the time, with nobody getting hurt ever, completely, to infinity? Of course not. But hey, let's do the best that we can. Thank you for watching this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this with people like to talk about the martial arts in peace. And as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Peace.